Hello everyone, this is Iskamar and I want to welcome you to another Soul Kingdoms devlog. Today we're going to be taking an early look at our new PvPvE extraction map as well as taking a small dive into our world and lore. But first of all, for those that may be discovering Soul Kingdoms for the first time, we are a small indie team of 3 working on a more PvP focused mmo-lite. If you're interested in receiving future updates and getting a chance to playtest the game, then we invite you to join us in the Soul Kingdoms Discord linked in the description below. So now let's talk about our extraction game mode. If you caught the last vlog, we showcased a work in progress map and we referred to the game mode as the Crossroads. We've gone through some iterations since then, and while the core design is remaining intact, we have made some modifications we feel will lead to a more dynamic experience. The result that we're hoping to accomplish with our changes is to lead to a more large-scale, less linear, and open-world dungeon sort of feel. The name of the game mode is also changing now to better fit our ever-evolving world's lore. We haven't decided 100% what that name will be yet, but we are currently referring to these extraction zones as the Mists. Now before we talk a little about the game world's lore, let's just cut straight to our brand new map. Keep in mind, this is an early work in progress and we're working really fast to get this into a playtestable state. We want to start playtesting this as soon as possible, and then we'll perform more polished passes over time, which will include improving visuals along with increasing performance. And speaking of visuals, one thing we've been working really hard on the past 4 to 5 months is nailing down our visual aesthetic. We've incorporated a lot of tools to help improve our overall visual fidelity, and we've continued working on our custom shaders and materials for both the characters and the environment to make things feel more cohesive. And we even integrated a more robust fog system as well. Now back to the map. In this zone you'll be navigating pathways moving from farm spot to farm spot, and there will be a large amount of both static and patrolling monsters to kill along the way. The map will be made up of an entangled web of narrow pathways like this one, and traveling down them will lead you to a variety of points of interest. There will also be a chance for dynamic world events to take place along the pathways as well as at the points of interest too. So there'll be a good mixture of both static and dynamic content. A small spot like this will have some static monster spawns to clear, but it will also have a chance for more rare spawns and events to trigger, such as a rare treasure chest, invasion event, or even a mini boss appearing. Now let's move along the path a bit, and as you can see right now we have another spot located right up ahead, whereas in the future these 2 points of interest could be a bit more spaced out. Which, speaking of, with some of the new tools we've recently integrated, we've been able to speed up and empower our level design. So let's say we wanted to move this entire spot to a different location. All we need to do is locate the area in our hierarchy, select that area, and then move it to our newly desired spot. And as you can see, the map, terrain, textures, and foliage all update along with it. And this is all possible due to an extremely awesome level design tool called Microverse. If you're working on a game in Unity, I highly recommend checking it out. And for whatever reason, if you wanted to disable an area, we could just turn it off and the scene updates and behaves as if it was never there. Along with that, if you saw the latest image in our Discord, in that sneak peek image, the area had really low tree density, and that's something we've been playing around with a bit. And if we wanted to make a change like that, it's as simple as this. We disable the current trees, and these 2 bush configurations that are set up for higher density, enable our lower density trees and our alternate bushes, and just like that, the level looks drastically different. Now back to the preview. The spot we're approaching is an example of one of our more medium-sized farm locations. This area will also have a higher density of monsters than the previous one, and there will be a higher chance for boss spawns, chest drops, and even world events to occur. Now if you take a look at this ominous visual with the structures, lighting, and background, I'm sure it's quite evident that we're going for a very dark and gritty aesthetic, as opposed to what our previous map looked like before when we first previewed the Crossroads, which was much more bright and colorful in comparison. So you might ask, why the change in direction? Well, to make a long story short, we haven't worked on the lore for a while, because it was originally shaped for a different direction back when we were primarily seeking publisher funding and wanting to build a much larger scale game. The lore was created to match that vision and would necessitate having a large amount of fully custom assets made to properly pull it off. But after pivoting to a smaller scale vision that we could realistically ship ourselves, it meant the lore and look of the game needed to change. And being a tiny indie studio means we all wear many hats. So for a good while we've been focused more on gameplay systems and haven't really had the time to revisit our lore. and we're finally doing that now. And now what we want to do is blend the old path with the new. We want to bring together the dark and grim with the bright and the beautiful. So we've started reshaping the lore, and now I can give you a really high level overview of the current state in which the world of Soul Kingdoms resides. I'm going to use some images we generated with AI in order to help provide some supporting visuals. So in a nutshell, the gateway between the physical realm and the underworld below was breached, which led to the chaos of the underworld to begin to spill out onto the physical plane. For many centuries, the mortal races fought long and hard to push back the forces of the undead and to close this breach, but ultimately they were unsuccessful in stopping this incessant encroach of the underworld. Little by little, the world began to fall to chaos and ruin. The darkness steadily consumed all in its wake. So the many councils and orders of what remained of civilization convened in order to come up with a last-ditch effort to help preserve the realm of the living. Throughout these long centuries, it had been observed that the darkness was at its weakest at the highest points of the earth, because here the power of the divine heavenly realms was still at its strongest. So the most powerful mages and sorcerers were deployed around the earth to use geomancy to raise target locations as newly formed mountains and large plateaus. They prioritized saving villages, cities, and regions with higher populations of life, as well as important historical landmarks, sacred sites, and to preserve fragments of each distinct biome of the world. So they raised and preserved all they could, but only a small fraction of the world was able to be saved. The rest was left below to be fully consumed by the chaos. The raising of the world took place many centuries ago, and to most of those alive today, all they have ever known is life on the plateaus. And as for what we are currently calling the mists below, this is where we felt an extraction type game mode would make the most sense. Players who embark into the mists are looking to delve into the dangers below in the hope to obtain long forgotten riches and artifacts of power. There are no rules or laws here, it is everyone for themselves, and only the strongest survive long enough to make it back above to the plateaus to tell their tales. Now let's quickly take a look at what an extraction point will be like. There will only be a finite amount of these on the map, and they will be positioned about evenly between larger farm locations and the outer spawn points of the map. This is to help ensure that extracting is a dangerous feat, as it will be possible for other players to realistically contest attempted extractions. Now keep in mind, this spot has had little to no work put into it. It was just thrown together as a rough example of what the extraction locations will be like. This extraction point in particular would have the advantage of the upper ground and being able to see very well in an open clearing. However, the downside is that there likely won't be many choke points here, and you'll have to defend from all sides to successfully extract. We will work to ensure that each extraction spot has both its strengths and its weaknesses. Whenever you trigger an extraction event, it will start to charge up a portal. A beacon or pillar of light will light up the sky, the location will be marked as active on the map. The powering of the portal will take at least 1 to 2 minutes to charge up, and during this time there will be an invasion event that occurs where monsters are spawned to attack the players near the extraction site. If you survive long enough for the portal to charge, then you can interact with the portal to make it back safely to the town hub with all your riches intact. Now that's about it for this update. Going forward, we're going to be working really hard to consistently output content and get more updates out as frequently as possible. But in order to achieve this, we'll likely need to be a lot more raw with our content creation, because for a small team like ours, creating content can take a significant amount of time away from development. So first and foremost, we want to make sure that we keep making large amount of progress with the game, but we also want to make sure that we keep you all in the loop with that progress. In the next update, we will likely show a sneak preview of the first plateau, and to hold you over till then, here's a map of that to give you a little sample of what's to come. And lastly, one more time, if you want to receive more updates and have a chance to playtest in the future, join us in the Soul Kingdoms Discord linked below. I'm going to let the rest of this level preview play out, and that's it for me. See you in the next one.